Bonnie Tyler was one of the great 80s pop icons, huge hair, huge voice, and huger songs. People tend to think of Total Eclipse of the Heart as being
Many people know Bonnie Tyler as the powerful singer with the unforgettable voice behind some of the biggest hit songs ever recorded. But away from the spotlight, she quietly built a fortune far greater than many people ever imagined. So, just how much wealth did Bonnie Tyler really leave behind? Who inherited her impressive fortune? And how did her success, smart choices, and lasting music career make her family incredibly rich, while keeping many of the details hidden from the public for years? Bonnie Tyler, financial empire. Robert Sullivan showed good business sense after he retired from sports and moved into business and property development. Bonnie Tyler trusted him completely, with the money she earned from sold-out concerts and major recording deals with Columbia Records and RCA. Instead of spending their fortune on expensive sports cars, designer jewelry, or other luxury items, the couple invested in land and property. Over the years, they quietly built an impressive real estate portfolio that stretched from Europe to Oceania. One of their most valuable properties was their beautiful mansion in Portugal's Algarve region. Worth more than $10 million, the home stood in a prime location with stunning views of the Atlantic Ocean. It was much more than a holiday home. The estate was so large and elegant that many media reports compared it to a private five-star resort. It featured grand architecture, a large infinity pool, and a strong security system that protected the couple's privacy. Even so, the mansion represented only a small part of Bonnie Tyler's wealth. Behind her public image as the Queen of Rock Ballads was a carefully managed financial empire that she and Robert Sullivan built together over many years. Most people never realized how much of their fortune came from smart investments rather than music alone. One of their biggest investments was a large collection of homes across the United Kingdom. Rather than buying small apartments, the couple focused on expensive houses in desirable areas, including London and Berkshire, a county well known for its wealthy residents and members of the British royal family. Reports have claimed they owned more than 20 high-end properties. As the years passed, these homes became a steady source of income through rent, while also increasing in value. While many musicians worried about changes in the music industry and uncertain earnings, Bonnie continued receiving regular income from her property investments. This gave the couple financial security even during difficult economic times. Their investment plans did not stop in Europe. Bonnie and Robert also bought large areas of farmland in southern Portugal, and especially in New Zealand, a country known for its beautiful countryside, peaceful surroundings, and highly valuable land. These purchases showed that they were thinking far beyond short-term profits. As land values increased, their investments became even more valuable, making them major landowners. The couple also developed an impressive horse stable business, with more than 60 well-built premium horse stables. Robert's love of sports, developed during his time as an Olympic athlete, inspired this investment. The stables were not simply for horse riding or racing as a hobby. High-quality horse facilities can also be valuable business investments, adding another source of income while reflecting the couple's successful lifestyle. Bonnie Tyler's financial success came from several sources working together. Her classic hit songs, including Total Eclipse of the Heart and Holding Out for a Hero, continued earning money through royalties and licensing deals for films, television shows, and other media. When combined with their successful property investments, these steady earnings created a strong financial foundation. Because of this financial security, Bonnie never needed to keep touring simply to pay her bills. Unlike many performers from her generation, she continued performing, appeared as a Eurovision judge, and later wrote her autobiography because she genuinely loved music and remained passionate about her career. The young girl who once grew up in a Welsh mining village had achieved worldwide fame, lasting success, and great wealth. Despite all her money and success, life still brought painful challenges. Inside the beautiful $10 million mansion, surrounded by comfort and a lifetime of achievements, Bonnie Tyler eventually had to face the difficult realities of aging, declining health, and the loneliness that can come with growing older, especially without children to inherit the fortune she and her husband had built together. How was her last moment, and when did she pass away? Let's find out. Bonnie Tyler's final days. At the very height of her success, Bonnie Tyler had everything many people dream of. She was rich, famous around the world, and shared a strong and lasting marriage that many admired. Yet no matter how much success a person has, no one can escape old age, illness, and death. For Bonnie Tyler, the final chapter of her life did not end under bright stage lights with cheering fans. Instead, it became a quiet, painful, and heartbreaking struggle inside a hospital in Portugal's Algarve region, the peaceful place where she had hoped to enjoy her retirement. The tragedy began in early 2026. Bonnie was suddenly hit by intense stomach pain and was rushed to the emergency department of a hospital in Faro in very serious condition. After carrying out several tests, doctors discovered that she had suffered severe damage to her bowel. They said emergency surgery was the only chance to save her life. At 75, undergoing such a major operation was an enormous challenge. Although the surgery was first reported to have gone well, her body had become extremely weak after the procedure. Soon, several serious complications developed, placing tremendous pressure on her organs. As her condition quickly worsened, Portugal's leading medical specialists made the difficult decision to place Bonnie Tyler into a medically induced coma, hoping her body would have a better chance to recover. From that moment, the woman whose powerful voice had filled concert halls around the world became completely cut off from everything outside the intensive care unit. She could no longer hear the emotional words of comfort from her devoted husband, Robert Sullivan, or enjoy the warm sunshine shining over the Algarve coast. Around her were only hospital machines, bright white walls, tubes, monitors, and the steady electronic sounds that measured every heartbeat. It was a heartbreaking situation. The singer, who had spent her career performing songs about hope, strength, love, and never giving up, was now lying completely still, fighting the greatest battle of her life. Despite the efforts of doctors and nurses working around the clock, her condition remained critical. As the days passed, millions of fans across the world closely followed every update posted on her official Facebook page. Every new message brought fresh hope that Bonnie would recover once again. Many believed that the same determination that had helped a young girl from a Welsh mining village become one of the world's greatest singers would help her survive this battle as well. Sadly, that hope slowly faded. On July 8th, 2026, Bonnie Tyler's condition became much worse as her vital signs suddenly dropped. Surrounded by her husband and the people who loved her most, her heart finally stopped beating. She passed away at the age of 75. The short but deeply emotional announcement shared on her official page shocked fans around the world. Tributes poured in from fellow musicians, celebrities, and millions of admirers whose lives had been touched by her unforgettable songs. Bonnie Tyler left behind far more than wealth and success. She left behind a valuable real estate empire, an elderly husband carrying the deep pain of losing the love of his life, and a remarkable musical career that inspired generations. How did she begin? Did she experience a pleasant childhood? Let's find out. Bonnie Tyler's early life. Before the world knew the name Bonnie Tyler, she was simply Gaynor Hopkins, a thin young girl born on the 8th of June, 1951 in Skewen, a poor village in South Wales that was covered in coal dust from the nearby mines. Life for the Hopkins family was far from easy. Every day was a struggle just to survive. Their small house was crowded with 7 children, and there was never much money to spare. Her father, Glyndwr Hopkins, worked as a coal miner. He spent long hours deep underground in dangerous, dark tunnels, pushing himself to the limit so his family would have enough food to eat. Mining was exhausting and risky work, but he kept going because his family depended on him. Even though they lived with hardship and constant financial problems, there was one thing that always filled their home with hope. That was music. Singing became the brightest part of Gaynor's childhood. Whenever life became too difficult, music gave her a chance to forget about the poverty around her. She later said that singing was the only thing that allowed her to escape the dark hills and difficult life of her hometown. Every song she sang made her dream of a bigger future beyond the mining village where she had grown up. When she reached 16, Gaynor made a decision that shocked her family. She announced that she was leaving school because she wanted to start working. It was a risky choice, but she believed it was the right path for her. She found a job as a cashier in a local grocery store, spending her days serving customers, scanning groceries, and counting change. Although she worked hard, her heart was never truly in the job. Every shift she finished only made her dream more about standing in front of a microphone, performing on a stage, and hearing people cheer for her. She continued living that routine until a life-changing night in 1969. Wanting to test herself, Gaynor entered a local talent competition. Standing on the stage in front of an audience took courage, but she gave everything she had. When she finished singing, she was awarded second place. The prize money was only a few pounds, but to her it meant much more than the cash. It gave her confidence and proved that she had the talent to become a professional singer. That night convinced her that performing was not just a dream, but the future she wanted to chase. After that competition, Gaynor fully entered the Welsh music scene. She traveled from one club to another, singing wherever she could find an opportunity. She performed as a backing singer with the rhythm and blues group Bobby Wayne and the Dixies before eventually creating her own band called Imagination. The money she earned was very little, but she did not care. Every performance helped her improve, and every stage brought her one step closer to her dream. She sang with passion, treating every show as if it could change her life. As her career slowly began to grow, another problem appeared. At that time, the British music industry already had a successful Welsh singer named Mary Hopkin. Their names sounded so similar that many people could easily confuse them. Gaynor realized that if she wanted to build her own identity, she needed a completely different name that people would remember. She made the difficult choice to leave behind the name she had carried since birth. Gaynor Hopkins became Bonnie Tyler. It was more than simply choosing a new stage name. It marked the beginning of a completely new chapter in her life. The young woman who had grown up in a poor mining village was now determined to build a future in music under a fresh identity. With her new name and growing confidence, Bonnie Tyler set her sights on London. She knew the city offered bigger opportunities than she could ever find back home. She packed her dreams, left the familiar streets of her childhood behind, and headed toward a future filled with success, unforgettable moments, difficult setbacks, and life-changing experiences that would eventually make her one of the most recognizable voices in the world. What challenges did she face? Did she overcome them? Let's take a closer look. Bonnie Tyler's early struggles. In 1975, inside a busy nightclub in Swansea, Wales, the air was filled with cigarette smoke, loud music, and the smell of strong drinks. Among the people watching the performance was a music talent scout named Roger Bell. He had spent many years discovering new singers, and the moment he heard the young Bonnie Tyler perform, he realized she had something very special. He believed she had the talent to become a major star. Without wasting any time, he arranged for her to travel to London, where bigger opportunities were waiting. Soon afterward, Bonnie Tyler signed her first recording contract with RCA Records, one of the biggest and most respected music companies in the world at that time. The young woman who had once worked in a grocery store was finally getting the chance she had always dreamed about. Even with that exciting beginning, life in London was far from easy. Success did not come overnight. Her first single, My Honeycomb, released in 1976, failed to attract much attention. Very few people bought the record, radio stations barely played it, and it disappeared without making an impact on the music charts. It was a painful setback for someone who had worked so hard to reach that stage. The record company expected results, and Bonnie began to feel the heavy pressure of proving that she deserved the opportunity she had been given. Fortunately, she refused to give up. She returned to the recording studio and worked even harder on her next release. Her second single, Lost in France, changed everything. The song quickly became popular, receiving regular airplay on radio stations across Britain. More and more people began to notice her powerful singing style, and before long, the song climbed into the UK top 10. It was the breakthrough she had been hoping for. For the first time, Bonnie Tyler was no longer an unknown singer. She was becoming one of Britain's exciting new pop-rock artists. She continued building on that success with another hit, More Than a Lover. The song performed well on the charts and helped strengthen her growing reputation. Fans were drawn to her emotional performances, her powerful stage presence, and the passion she poured into every song. Music lovers and industry experts began to believe that Bonnie Tyler had a bright future ahead of her. Everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place, and it looked as though her career was only beginning to rise. Then, just as her dream was becoming reality, disaster struck. In 1977, Bonnie received heartbreaking news during a visit to her doctor. Years of singing with great force had badly damaged her vocal cords. Painful nodules had formed on them, making it dangerous for her to continue singing without treatment. The doctors explained that surgery was the only way to save her voice. For any singer, an operation on the vocal cords is frightening because even a successful procedure can permanently change the voice. Bonnie faced one of the biggest challenges of her life. The operation itself went well, giving everyone hope that she would recover. However, her doctor gave her one very important instruction. She was told not to speak at all for 6 weeks. Complete silence was necessary to allow her vocal cords to heal properly. It was an extremely difficult order to follow, especially for someone whose career depended on communication and singing. As the days passed, the emotional pressure became harder to handle. Then, one unexpected moment changed everything. Feeling overwhelmed by stress and frustration, Bonnie suddenly let out a scream without thinking. The instant it happened, she feared the worst. She believed she had destroyed her healing vocal cords and ended her music career forever. She later admitted that at that moment, she thought everything she had worked for had disappeared. When the healing period was over and the bandages were removed, Bonnie was shocked. The clear, smooth singing voice she had always known was gone. Instead, her voice had become rough, raspy, deep, and full of a natural gravelly sound unlike anything she had ever heard before. At first, she was devastated. She cried because she believed the unique voice she had once depended on had been taken away forever. But what first seemed like a terrible loss soon became the greatest turning point of her career. When Bonnie returned to the recording studio, her new voice immediately caught everyone's attention. It sounded emotional, powerful, and unforgettable. Every word carried a depth that listeners could feel. Rather than hurting her career, the unexpected change gave her a sound that no other female singer had. Music critics were amazed and quickly began comparing her to Rod Stewart because of the similar roughness in their voices. What Bonnie had once considered a tragic accident became the very thing that made her famous. Her raspy voice separated her from countless other pop singers and gave her a style that was instantly recognizable. It helped her move beyond ordinary pop music and establish herself as one of the most distinctive and respected rock singers of her generation. The voice she had feared would end her career instead became the unforgettable trademark that millions of fans around the world would come to love. How did things turn around for her? Did she do something extraordinary? Let's find out. Tyler's surprising breakthrough. After the frightening experience of losing her voice, Bonnie Tyler came back stronger than ever. Instead of turning away, people welcomed the new sound of her voice with open arms. Fans were amazed by the deep, rough, and emotional tone that had replaced her old voice. What had once seemed like a terrible setback became the very thing that made her stand out from every other singer. Her new voice was powerful, unforgettable, and full of feeling, giving every song a level of emotion that listeners could easily connect with. Between 1977 and 1978, Bonnie enjoyed an incredible breakthrough with the release of It's a Heartache. Using her newly developed raspy voice, she filled every line of the song with the pain, sadness, and heartbreak of someone who had truly experienced loss. Her performance felt honest and deeply emotional, making millions of people around the world fall in love with the song. The single quickly became an international sensation. It climbed music charts across Europe, North America, and many other parts of the world. In the United States, it reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and also entered the top 10 on the country music chart, proving that her music appealed to listeners from different backgrounds and musical tastes. The success of the song also helped her album Natural Force earn a gold certification in the United States. At that point, Bonnie Tyler was no longer simply a promising singer from the United Kingdom. She had become a worldwide music star with millions of fans. Even with all of that success, Bonnie believed she could achieve even more. As the 1980s began, she felt that her current pop sound no longer gave her enough room to express herself. She wanted her music to become bigger, louder, and more dramatic. She dreamed of mixing powerful rock music with emotional melodies and grand orchestral sounds that would make every performance feel unforgettable. Determined to make that dream come true, Bonnie reached out to Jim Steinman, the creative songwriter and producer famous for creating Bat Out of Hell for Meatloaf. Many people believed someone as unique and unconventional as Steinman would never agree to work with her. To everyone's surprise, he immediately recognized the emotion and dramatic power hidden inside Bonnie's voice. He believed she could bring his music to life in a way that very few singers could. In the spring of 1983, their partnership produced one of the most famous songs ever recorded, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Jim Steinman had originally written the song for a musical based on the vampire story Nosferatu, but the stage production was never completed. Rather than allowing the song to disappear, he reshaped it for Bonnie Tyler. The result was breathtaking. The song combined haunting lyrics, dramatic music, powerful piano, soaring instruments, and Bonnie's emotional voice into a performance unlike anything audiences had heard before. Every note carried passion, longing, heartbreak, and hope. Bonnie's powerful vocals transformed the song into a timeless masterpiece that touched listeners across the world. Years later, Meatloaf even joked that the song should have belonged to him, but admitted that it was truly meant for Bonnie Tyler because her voice made it unforgettable. The success of Total Eclipse of the Heart was extraordinary. It reached number 1 in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. The dramatic music video, filmed inside an abandoned psychiatric hospital in England, became one of the most memorable videos of the decade. During the golden age of MTV, it was shown so often that it became one of the channel's signature videos, introducing Bonnie Tyler to millions of new viewers around the world. The album Faster Than the Speed of Night also became a huge success. It reached number 1 on the United Kingdom album chart and earned Bonnie 2 Grammy Award nominations, including Best Rock Vocal Performance and Best Pop Vocal Performance. These honors confirmed that she had become one of the most respected and admired singers of her generation. Bonnie's incredible run of success continued in 1984 with another unforgettable hit, Holding Out for a Hero. The song became one of the standout tracks from the hit movie Footloose. Its driving rhythm, powerful chorus, and exciting energy made it an instant favorite. The song inspired people to sing along, dance, and feel energized every time they heard it. Decades later, the song remains just as popular. Even in the 21st century, younger generations continue discovering it through movies, television shows, commercials, sporting events, video games, and modern remixes. Every new generation seems to embrace the song, proving that truly great music never loses its appeal. Bonnie Tyler did far more than record successful songs. She created music that has remained part of popular culture for decades. Her biggest hits continue to be played around the world, introducing her powerful voice to new listeners year after year. Many famous rock stars of the 1980s became known as much for their personal scandals as for their music. Headlines were often filled with stories of broken marriages, expensive divorces, constant arguments, and wild parties. Bonnie Tyler's life, however, was very different. Away from the bright stage lights and cheering crowds, she lived a remarkably private and peaceful life. Behind her powerful, rough voice was a woman devoted to a lasting marriage and a love story that endured for more than 50 years. How was Tyler's love life? Did she raise a family? Let's find out. Tyler's love story. Before Bonnie Tyler became a worldwide music star, there was one person who stood by her through every step of her journey: her husband, Robert Sullivan. Their story began in 1972, when Bonnie was still known as Gaynor Hopkins, a young singer trying to build a career by performing in small clubs across Wales. At the same time, Robert was making a name for himself in a very different world. He was a skilled judoka who had proudly represented Great Britain at the 1972 Munich Olympic Games. Even though their lives followed different paths, fate brought them together, and they quickly formed a deep and lasting connection. The couple married in 1973, just 1 year before Bonnie signed the recording contract that would completely change her future. As Bonnie's career took off, and she became one of the biggest voices in music, Robert remained the steady person she could always depend on. He was far more than just her husband. He became her closest friend, her greatest supporter, and the person who kept her grounded, while fame brought endless attention, pressure, and temptation. No matter how successful Bonnie became, Robert always made sure their relationship stayed strong and their home remained a place of peace. Over more than 53 years together, Bonnie and Robert built one of the strongest marriages in the entertainment world. While many famous couples separated after only a few years, they stayed loyal to each other through every success, disappointment, and challenge life placed before them. Their marriage was never surrounded by cheating rumors or public scandals. Newspapers and magazines had nothing dramatic to report because their relationship was built on trust, honesty, and commitment. Bonnie often explained that the secret to their long-lasting marriage was simple. They always respected each other, supported each other, and traveled together whenever she toured the world. By staying side by side, they protected their relationship from the distance that often destroys many marriages in show business. To the outside world, Bonnie seemed to have everything anyone could wish for. She had millions of fans, international success, financial security, and the complete love of a devoted husband. Yet behind her bright smile was a deep sadness that never completely disappeared. Although she reached the highest level of fame, there was one dream that remained painfully out of reach. She desperately wanted to become a mother. By the late 1980s, Bonnie's career had settled after years of constant traveling, recording, and performing across the world. With life becoming a little calmer, she and Robert decided it was finally the right time to start a family. They dreamed about filling their home with the laughter of a child. When Bonnie became pregnant at the age of 39, the couple could hardly contain their happiness. It felt as though one of their greatest dreams was finally coming true. Bonnie threw herself into preparing for motherhood with excitement and hope. She began buying tiny baby clothes, including little sweaters for the child she could not wait to hold in her arms. She even planned to step away from performing for a while so she could fully enjoy being a mother and spend those precious early months with her baby. Everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place, and both Bonnie and Robert looked forward to the new chapter that was about to begin. But life suddenly took a heartbreaking turn. Only 2 months into the pregnancy, Bonnie suffered a miscarriage. In a single moment, all the dreams and plans she had carefully built disappeared. The emotional pain was overwhelming. It became one of the darkest periods of her entire life. The loss deeply affected Bonnie's mental and emotional health. The strong woman who had overcome so many challenges in her career found herself completely broken. She spent countless hours crying alone in her bedroom, struggling to accept what had happened. The grief was so intense that it pushed her into depression. The future she had imagined was suddenly gone, leaving behind a painful emptiness that was difficult to describe. So, what do you think about Bonnie Tyler's fortune? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.